There are lots of things that we just accept as a given without ever once questioning it or even thinking about it at all. Regardless, one of the most toxic atrocities almost never spoken about is the existence of fluoride in our water. Lots of people already know about how bad this is, but many, I'd say most people, do not. The truth is that the science behind its benefits was always questionable. Regardless, it never should have been pumped into the water system to begin with. The main idiotic reason we were given after all these years is that it's good for our teeth and prevents tooth decay. And we just accepted it. But modern research reveals that the data on that was never even true or conclusive. In addition to the data being questionable, there is, however, lots of factual data proving fluoride has very harmful effects. Fluoride is toxic to the human body, and even if it were true that it really did improve the health of our teeth, here are just a few questions that defy common sense and have yet to be explained. Studies show that fluoride keeps collecting in our bodies, and as we ingest it on a regular basis, there are very harmful long-term effects. The fluoride calcifies our bone tissue and the pineal gland, which then negatively impacts our brain function. So again, even if fluoride was good for preventing tooth decay, the question, is it worth exposing the public at large to all the harmful, toxic, long-term effects to our brains? Who decided that for us and why? Also, as we continue to pretend that it's good for our teeth, because, well, that's what they told us, our health, our bodies, and what we decide to do with it is sacred and our first right. Question 2, is it right or ethical for the government to decide what's best for us, then implement medical decisions that affect our body chemistry? The answer to both those questions is no.
Fluoride science is corporate science. Fluoride science is DDT science, it's asbestos science, it's tobacco science, it's a racket. And he gave me the names of Dr. William Hersey, who then and now is a chemist at the Environmental Protection Agency, and Dr. Robert J. Carton. Bob Carton had been with EPA, but at that time was then over at the US Army. And I went down to Washington and met with Dr. Hersey and Dr. Carton, and they explained to me that the safety standards for water fluoridation in this country are based on fraudulent science.
The Marion Institute features the account of Dr. Mark A. Briner. Dr. Briner tells of how most dentists are taught how wonderful fluoride is and how great it was in thwarting the onset of tooth decay. Even in areas of fluoridated water, he was taught that fluoride should also be administered topically to children's teeth every 6 months, and that supplemental fluoride should be given to children from infancy onward. Dr. Briner eventually saw the light and was illuminated to the truth about fluoride. The science was fraudulent. In his own words, just like with mercury, I was initially tipped off about fluoride by Dr. Hal Huggins. In the mid-70s, I researched fluoride. I came to the conclusion that fluoride was a toxic poison, and it did not decrease tooth decay. I stopped using fluoride in my practice. In my own home, we started using bottled water, toothpaste without fluoride, and juices not made from concentrate. The water used to reconstitute juice is almost always fluoridated. To read more on that, visit themarioninstitute.org. Now, there is a very dark side to the equation that goes the way of conspiracy. So bear with me. There is information that the idea of putting fluoride in the water was first pioneered by the Nazis, and they fluoridated the water of the Jewish ghettos and death camps. And the reason this was done was to dull the brain and pacify the people. Again, fluoride calcifies the pineal gland and creates docility. That's just food for thought. You can take it or leave it. Now listen to this. When you have something that comes from above, it is protected from above. You have to be very careful where you get your information. So naturally, there will be quote-unquote very reputable sites protecting fluoride and attempting to debunk the Nazi connection as myths, simultaneously promoting fluoride as one of the greatest health breakthroughs of modern times. Here's the big problem with this. And here is where breaking from the system and applying intelligence and critical thought will illuminate you. Fact: Japan and 97% of the Western European world do not fluoridate their water. According to fluoridealert.org, the Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, leaped out and claimed fluoride was good and lowered tooth decay since the 1950s. That was false. The CDC simply linked and attributed a decline in tooth decay with fluoride, which was completely erroneous. The CDC did not explain that most Western countries do not fluoridate their water, and yet their tooth decay rates have declined at the same rate as the US and other fluoridated countries. So in truth, as far as tooth decay is concerned, fluoride in the water has been proven completely obsolete. Nobel Prize winning scientist Dr. Arvid Carlsson has stated this many times and with factual evidence helped block this travesty from reaching Sweden. Here's some more. According to the World Health Organization data compiled in 2012, Denmark and Germany do not fluoridate their water, and they top the list with only 0.7 DMFT, or decayed, missing, and filled teeth. The United States does fluoridate their water, and they scored down below at 1.19 for the years 1999 through 2004. So which scientists are out there audaciously calling fluoride some kind of breakthrough when the data is all right there?
Fluoridation of community water is extremely safe and extremely effective in preventing tooth decay.
He says he can't explain why the anti-fluoride movement has been gaining such traction.
Science is on the side of fluoride being safe and effective. There is no controversy about this in the scientific community.
When you are in the business of doing a lot of research, you often go in very deep and may become aware of many things that aren't common knowledge. And when you do this, you have to be very careful presenting some of it. We have so many people who, whether they realize it or not, are or behave as agents, so to speak. These people are brainwashed into the system and protect the system in place at all costs. They question anything that attempts to threaten the status quo. They do not like to break the bonds of their mental institutionalization, as it makes many people uncomfortable. They trust the system as it is, lies and all, and create a hostile environment for those attempting to cause a shift in the public consciousness, for better or for worse. Doing investigative research, you may learn things that aren't widely known, and therefore, you may get targeted by trolling entities. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about on this one. It comes with the territory. Lots of people will know of what you speak. Others may not have known, but may be very receptive to the information. But there will be a small minority of heckling haters who may not know, believe, or like the information you present and will attempt to flush it out. And some come from the industries they are trying to protect. This will always happen and will always be the case. So naturally, people will attempt to kill the messenger, cast doubt on the information, and write things off completely, simply because people do not respect the concept of knowing what they don't know and accepting it. It is exactly for that reason, for some videos, I'll keep it short. I won't go in too deep, and I'll keep it contained to irrefutable ethics, logic, and reason. So forget all the conspiracy and let's bring it back. With that said, and with the exclusion of any conspiracy theories or conjecture, the very simple question I'll pose is, should fluoride be put in our water? Well, in fact, the science supporting fluoride is suspect, and many scientific bodies like the aforementioned have proof that it is erroneous and false. In addition to that, in fact, there are numerous very negative side effects and health risks that they do not discuss. Again, this is fact. In addition to that, yes, it is extremely unethical and unlawful for a government to mandate pumping any chemical or drug into the water system, whether it's beneficial to people or not. Fluoride is the only element added to water for medical purposes. It's classified as a drug by the FDA. Therefore, it is unethical and unconstitutional to have it in the water supply because you cannot medicate any human being without informed consent. Also, because fluoride exists in numerous products, and because there is no limit to the amount of water that people drink, or the fluoridated products they ingest, there really is no control on the dosage whatsoever. I think the conclusion is obvious. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. Our health and our bodies belong to us, not the government. And what we ingest on a daily basis is not a small, ignorable thing. Don't sit back, pacified and indifferent. For those who haven't already, begin the process of making changes to avoid fluoride intake. Secondly, start making noise to have it removed from the water in your community. So to my initial question, if fluoride should be in our water, the answer is undeniably no. End of discussion. And case closed.